Council Leader, Michael C. Pintard, Mrs. Pintard, to our Deputy Leader, K. Peter Turnquest, to former Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis, Founding Fathers, MCMs, parliamentarians, Women's Association, torch bearers, FNMs, good night. Tonight, we open a convention that will set the tone for our party for the next 2 years. We are a party united behind one new leader, ready to demonstrate that we have not forgotten where we have come from, we haven't forgotten what we've done, and we are ready to prove why we are the party for your future. It is my distinct pleasure to stand here before you, the newest Free National Movement parliamentarian. I am proud to join a caucus that has a history of building up, supporting, and protecting Bahamian women. FNMs, I don't need to remind you that we appointed the first female Governor General. I don't need to remind you that we appointed the first female President of the Senate. I don't need to remind you that we appointed the first female Attorney General. And we are the only party to appoint 2 women to the post of Attorney General. FNMs, we recite these facts easily. But what we don't recite enough is the fact that the FNM has a legacy of promoting legislation addressing women's issues. It was an FNM government that sought to enshrine gender equality and prohibit sexual discrimination in our Constitution. It was an FNM government that tabled an amendment to the Sexual Offenses Act in 2009 to criminalize marital rape. It was an FNM government that enacted legislation to provide a mechanism for women to apply for help from their abusive partners. Before the Domestic Violence and Protection Orders Act, even if you made a complaint to the police about your abuser who lived with you and they were charged, there was no way to get them out the house. Your only recourse was to move out, have them bound over to keep the peace. We all know moving out requires resources, financial, friends, family. The Domestic Violence Act meant that partners, overwhelmingly women, could come to court on an urgent basis and get an order so that their abusive partner had to move out of the house, stay away from their job, and simply just stay away. FNMs, imagine what it must have been like before. You were brave enough to make a complaint, he's charged, and then you have to come home and live together because you don't have anywhere to go. You don't have any money. You have children to worry about. This act has provided relief and peace to hundreds of applicants. It protects women not just from physical violence, but from that mental manipulation and harassment which can escalate to violent behavior. In 2009, an FNM parliamentary caucus tabled legislation to criminalize marital rape. This amendment should have been met with bipartisan support, but it was criticized by the then PLP opposition. Marital rape continues to be the most pressing gender-based issue in our country. I said in the Senate about 2 weeks ago that the laws are a reflection of a society's views. They are an indicator as to what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. The current definition of rape gives the impression that in the Bahamas, we believe that women, wives, do not deserve to have control over their bodies. They don't have a fundamental right to say no. I hope this is untrue. Bahamian women are equal to men in duties and obligations, and we cannot accept in 2022 distinctions between sexes which, quite frankly, most countries have already done away with. There have been at least 14 international documents, UN declarations, policy documents from Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, which address the duty of a government to confront and prevent, through legislation, gender-based violence, which includes marital rape and domestic violence. Women are entitled to equal protection under the law.
This is not a golden rule.
Sadly, no steps were taken by the last administration to address this issue. But we are once again presented with an opportunity to do something. We have the opportunity to show the wives of this country that they do not lose their right to equal protection under the law, or lose the right not to get raped when they got married. Unfortunately, we've received confusing messages from this brand new government on the issue of marital rape and gender-based violence. The President of the Senate issued a clarion call to take a zero-tolerance approach to gender-based violence. But the Minister of Social Services has indicated that there's a draft bill that doesn't specifically address marital rape, but it's all-inclusive. The Minister of Social Services, when he was asked about it, he refused to say whether he thought marital rape was wrong or not. He did not want his opinion to cloud the discussion. To that I say, Mr. Minister, as a cabinet minister and a member of parliament, you are a leader in the community. You don't have the luxury of waiting for what others say before you express your view. Be brave. Tell us how you really feel. Lead the discussion. In November, when the Prime Minister was asked if marital rape was on his administration's agenda, he told the media he had too many other things on his agenda to be thinking about. Shame. Now, they are looking into domestic violence legislation. FNMs, this issue deserves more than a lukewarm, lackluster, we shall see approach. Every advance in law that women have made over the last century has been made with opposition. We have had to persuade legislators that we deserved the right to vote, the right to go to school, the right to work. This advancement in law is no different. We are fighting for equal protection under the law. We are fighting against discrimination based on sex. We are fighting for the right not to be violated, the right to determine our actions, the right to be a separate individual. These are fundamental human rights. Domestic violence cases are on the rise. This FNM parliamentarian will continue to push this brand new government to do the right thing and expressly criminalize marital rape. We need strong legislation with real penalties to send the message that violence against women is unacceptable. We will not allow them to get distracted. They must chew gum and walk at the same time. The promised legislation must not be set aside for more pressing matters. They must tackle inflation. They must give the financial officers their back pay. And they must enact the promised gender-based violence legislation. To my sisters who are experiencing and have experienced violence, I see you. I know that domestic violence is not just bruised wrists and black eyes. I know that domestic violence is also control and mental manipulation. I know that the solution is complex. I know that you were discerning. I know that removing yourselves from toxic situations is complicated. It requires financial support, emotional support, physical support and protection. We must make practical solutions more readily available. We know that you need someone to hear you. You are valued. It's not your fault. We know you want to keep your family safe. No one can tell you what to do. But what I can tell you is that you are blessed, you are strong, and you are worth it. Be not afraid. God goes before you always. Follow him, and he will give you rest. I am not afraid. We are women. We never scared. We want our equal rights. We want our equal protection. How beautiful it would be if our Bahamian women could have the same rights and protections as our Bahamian men. As my Senate colleague, Senator Maxine Seymour says, there are some things bigger than politics. We must work together. We have all been charged to guard each man's dignity and save each man's pride. Brand new government, bring this legislation. Protect your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your nieces, your cousins, and colleagues, so that when we become wives, we can have equal protection under the law. We're waiting.
Talking about you if you're going nowhere, but when you're trying to excel